Thank you for taking time to learn about our research on how knowledge workers think generative AI will or will not transform their industries. There's been a lot of discussion of how emerging generative AI technologies may affect knowledge workers. For example, changing how they do their work or even doing jobs that were previously done by humans. To learn more about how knowledge workers are perceiving this, we conducted a qualitative study of knowledge workers in 7 industries in 3 U.S. cities. The high-level summary is that they mainly see generative AI as an effort-saving tool that can be helpful for many menial tasks with human review. They do not buy into narratives about AI imminently transforming their industries and jobs, but at the same time, they are not particularly certain about their opinions. To the extent that they do see generative AI affecting their industries, it's more in relationship to 4 social forces that are already affecting them: deskilling, dehumanization, disconnection, and disinformation. Based on perspectives the participants shared, we discussed potential research questions and opportunities for best practices. Now I'll tell you a bit more about how we did this work. We conducted workshops for 7 different industries: advertising, business communications, education, journalism, law, mental health, and software. And we had a total of 54 participants across those industries. We were in 3 different cities in the United States: Columbus, Ohio, New York City, New York, and Oakland, California. We took a participatory approach. We had 3-hour workshops with each group. Our goal was to engage the participants in discussion with us and with each other to puzzle out likely futures and better predict upcoming shifts, and to think about best practices to ensure generative AI is beneficial and has positive effects. The workshops involved a teaching intervention plus a series of activities which had individual work followed by group discussion. Here are some limitations to keep in mind when interpreting the work. It's a qualitative study in the United States, only 1 group per industry. So this is not a representative sample, but rather an initial exploration. Here are examples of some of the artifacts that participants developed and shared with each other during the workshops. On the left is a change card, which participants used to describe important upcoming changes in their industry. In the middle is a policy handout, which participants used to describe how generative AI should be used in their field. On the right is an industry map, which participants used to show roles and tasks. More details about the methodology, including data analysis, are in the paper. I'm going to turn now to a high-level overview of how participants oriented to generative AI. Broadly, our participants viewed generative AI as an effort-saving tool that is useful for menial tasks. For example, one participant told us, "For the tasks that I find to be tedious, those to-do items that I don't really care about, but we just need to churn it out, ChatGPT all the way." But they say generative AI's output must be reviewed by humans. It can assist humans, but humans must check its work and remain in control. In terms of jobs, in most fields, they expect some roles will be impacted, but they don't expect their fields to be substantially transformed, and they don't expect a wide range of jobs to be eliminated. So, our participants see the effort-saving tool narrative summarized at the top. Let's compare this with other prominent narratives. For example, there seems to be a transformative narrative in white papers and industry reports, sometimes covered in the media, which suggests generative AI will have broad, substantial impact across industries and jobs. There also appears to be a sensationalized narrative, which makes more dramatic or even hyperbolic claims about how generative AI will change or replace human labor. Against the backdrop of those narratives, the changes the participants anticipate are more limited and narrow. However, there is a place where participants anticipate generative AI could have more substantial effects. Participants generally feel other things are happening that are more disruptive than generative AI, but they anticipate that generative AI might interact with those other forces. The four that came out most strongly in our discussions were deskilling, dehumanization, disconnection, and disinformation. The perspectives the participants shared with us suggest several research challenges. One challenge relates to human in the loop, or HITL approaches, in which human review or human oversight is added to a system to check or monitor its output. Participants were very optimistic about humans' ability to do this type of work, to accurately review and correct content created by generative AI. However, the research literature points out a number of unsolved practical issues with HITL. HCI could help advance work in this area by doing more research on issues like how can awareness of the current limitations of HITL be raised? How can HITL systems be improved? Please see the paper for discussion of other research challenges and to consider ways to address other important questions raised by participants. I'd like to thank our participants as well as others who contributed to this work. To learn more, please see our CHI 2024 paper. Thank you for your time.